I'd like to start first by bringing up to the stage Mike McNally with Genesis Direct. Please do me a favor, give Mike a big round of applause. Thank you, Mike. Mike has been involved in direct marketing sales for over 30 years in the Philadelphia and Tampa Bay markets. Over the years, he has seen this medium change from continuous form computer letters to database-driven digital laser imaged touches. I think I said that pretty close to being right. That was a long one there. As part of an integrated multiple-channel communication. That is some nice industry jargon that we've all thrown together to say that they do really great direct marketing pieces that touch, obviously, lots of different parts at this point. For the last 9 years, Mike has been at Genesis Direct, where in his role as Senior Account Executive, he is responsible for developing and maintaining major clients. Once again, thank you, Mike McNally, for joining us today. I'd like to bring up now Mark Warlamut from Clear Channel Communications. Do me a favor, please give Mark a big round of applause. Mark is stepping in for Sam Nein, the general manager of Clear Channel, who is unable to attend. He had a medical emergency, and so Mark is stepping up. But Mark is a veteran, certainly as well, with as much experience as Sam has from an overall standpoint of really being a radio veteran. He's worked in the radio communication business for about 29 years. He is currently serving as the general sales manager for Clear Channel Media and Entertainment, Cincinnati and Tampa. Throughout his distinguished career, he has been a market manager, a director of sports marketing, a director of new business development, director of sales, a general sales manager for many nationally recognized outlets. Again, from Los Angeles to Miami. Please do me one more favor. Give Mark one more round of applause for joining us here today. Thank you, Mark. I would like to bring up Erica Shea at this point. Please do me a favor. Give Erica a round of applause. We want to welcome her here. These panels are always fun when you've got your competitors sitting right next to each other. We'll see if any catfights break out. Erica joined the Tampa Bay Business Journal back in 2005. Throughout her tenure at TBBJ, Erica has consistently aided her clients in developing successful print, online, and event sponsorship strategies. She is a winner of the prestigious Eagle Award, an annual competition within the Business Journal's parent company. And as a senior account executive, she consistently ranks in the top 10 of the company and number 1 in the state of Florida. Please do me a favor. One more round of applause for Erica. Thank you, Erica. Thanks for joining us. Just 2 more here. We've got Dawn Phillips from the Tampa Bay Times. Let's hear it for Dawn for coming up. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you. Dawn joined the Times in 2003 and has quickly ascended to the position of Senior Account Executive. In 2006, Dawn was named Advertising Sales Manager in Tampa, where she currently has responsibilities for managing the sales and support teams in Hillsborough and Central and East Pasco counties. In this role, Dawn leads the development and implementation of all Times publishing on the ground sales strategies in this important growth market. Dawn has played a critical role in the successful launch of TBT as a free weekly and in strategic planning process that leads to the innovative relaunch of TBT as a daily publication. Please do me a favor, one more round of applause for her joining us here today. Thank you. Thanks, Dawn. And last, but certainly not least, I'd like to introduce Todd Stewart, Bright House Media Strategies. Please give Todd a big round of applause. Thanks for joining us, Todd. Todd was named the Corporate Vice President of Advertising Sales for Bright House Networks, one of the nation's largest cable and telecommunications operations in 2008. He has been an executive in the cable industry for over 22 years. He joined Bright House Networks from Charter Communications, where he most recently served as Corporate VP of National Sales and Development and has been at the forefront of advanced advertising. In 2006, Stewart was the recipient of the prestigious Cable Television Advertising Bureau President's Award for his dedication and commitment to the cable advertising industry. At BHN, Stewart is responsible for the advertising sales operation company-wide. One more round of applause for our entire panel, please, everybody. Thank you.
How many?
One of the things that we wanted to try to do with our panel, you guys, is we want to try to make sure that we had, obviously, a lot of different mediums represented, and they also had a lot of different executive levels represented as well. You know, it's nice to be able to hear, obviously, from a corporate VP, from somebody who can talk really about overall top-tier strategy, but then also be able to talk a little bit with some of those people that are in the trenches, that are out there every day dealing with clients, trying to help them take their strategy from, obviously, the direct client piece and take that all the way up to the top and really build throughout there. So I think we've done a really great job of representing that with the team here. As I said, what I'd like to do now is just give each one of them a chance to talk maybe just a couple minutes about themselves, anything that I may have missed, and then just briefly maybe talk about one of the things that they feel like is kind of a unique selling proposition for their specific project. Let's talk first with you, Mike, if you don't mind.
Everybody hear me okay?
Sean gave a fine introduction. I mean, I've been around long enough to see this channel, this medium of direct mail marketing transform, going back to work in Philadelphia back in I guess 1980, and just seeing all the changes that have come about over that. Personally, proudest achievement, I mean, there's been some awards and president of some groups and organizations, but it's, a long, happy marriage and 3, grown, happy, well-adjusted kids that I'm most proud of.
Thanks, Mike. Mark, same thing. If you don't mind, maybe just talk a little bit about really what's been maybe a unique selling proposition for you since you've been in the industry and anything I may have missed personally.
Sure. I think most recently at Clear Channel, most of you know Clear Channel as a radio company. At the beginning of the year, we changed our name to Clear Channel Media and Entertainment, primarily because we put a big emphasis on consolidating all of our radio stations across the country. We're in 150 markets, 850 stations. And now you can pick it up on an app called iHeartRadio. And that app was launched last year with what was the biggest radio music festival in the history of rock and roll. But it was a sellout in basically 3 minutes and was held in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. And it was just a variety of stars, ranged from Jay-Z to Kenny Chesney to Carrie Underwood. And so it was a huge event, and as a result, in 1 year, and really less than 1 year, the iHeartRadio app and its registered users has grown to 10 million, which is a faster pace than Pandora and some of the other social media darlings. So that's the direction of the company.
Great, thanks. So you guys have done a really interesting job of taking, obviously, some other things that were out there that had kind of were non-traditional radio in some ways, and were developing their own niche, and you've taken, obviously, the largesse that Clear Channel has from a national standpoint and created those same touch points, trying to find what was most interesting about what people were looking for that they couldn't find in traditional radio and really build across that. So I know we bought it for several clients, and it's been interesting for us. So Erica, if you wouldn't mind the same question, maybe just if there's anything I missed, and talk a little about maybe something that's really unique about the TVBJ in the market.
Sure. I'm Erica with the Tampa Bay Business Journal. What I think a lot of people don't know is that we're celebrating 32 years here in Tampa Bay, and that we are one of 42 publications across the country. So each business journal kind of serves as its own silo, servicing the local community and kind of giving the readers of the business community what they want. But on a buying perspective, if you're looking at reaching businesses across the country for certain clients, you can purchase us across 42 markets on our digital platforms, events, and print as well. We're cousins actually with Todd and Bright House with a larger company called Advance, and actually our brother and sister with Condé Nast, which covers Vanity Fair, Architectural Digest, Vogue, all those fun publications as well. And on a personal front, I just have to say I'm a Florida Gator, and I'm a proud new mom of a 6-month baby boy.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks.
Are there gators? Do we have all gators up here?
I'm not down there.
We won't hold that against you, then.
Jim, they're everywhere.
Mike. Thank you so much. Dawn, if you don't mind, the same thing. Obviously, we've got kind of 2 print people on our panel, but really 2 kind of completely different strategies in some ways. And so we want to make sure that we had both of you represented here.
Yeah,
please.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'm Dawn Phillips. I have always worked in Tampa for the formerly St. Petersburg Times. And so it's been an interesting journey for me to go from selling a product in Tampa 9 years ago to managing a team of very aggressive salespeople in Tampa for the Tampa Bay Times. And so you can imagine that then and now our business has changed quite a bit, especially locally. So I would say our most unique asset that we have at the Times is that we are locally owned. It would be nice to have some brothers and sisters, but we're an only child. So, in that we have resources and we can make decisions for our company, I think, that has really brought us to the forefront in this market right now. So, and we serve our advertisers better because we're able to do things like launch TBT. If we were held by a public company, I don't think we would ever have been able to do that. And 6 years later, it is the 3rd very successful daily newspaper in a market where most people are saying that print's dying. And I would point to Erica here as proof that it's still alive and well. So.
Print is not dead.
Yeah.
Print is not dead. Thank you, Dawn. One of the other interesting things was your publisher was, again, kind enough to come out and speak at one of our lunches, just before the launch of the rebrand. So It's been an interesting process. And again, we, as a community, it's been really interesting that you take a major publication that spent obviously millions on really building their brand to take that kind of risk in some ways to say we think this is the right thing to do. And obviously everything.
127-year-old name.
Yeah. I think everything that we've seen, even for somebody from St. Pete, it's been really, just an amazing relaunch for you guys, and obviously you've done a really great job of holding your own with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Todd, and just so you guys know, those mics are pretty directional, so you probably don't need to move them too terribly much.
Kept
You
moving
can. You're welcome to. Todd, same question if you don't mind. Maybe just talk a little bit about anything I may have missed, and obviously you're in a unique position on the cable side. Talk about that.
Well, two things I'd want to go into on the unique cable side first. In January, we launched the new, kind of renewed Tampa Bay Interconnect, which existed for many years in the marketplace. For those that may not know what an interconnect is, it's where we're able to actually, with different partners, run a commercial across the same break. Let's say on ESPN, in Verizon homes, in certainly Bright House's homes, in Comcast in Sarasota, and in Knology. So in our business, on the media side, advertisers really want to reach the people, and the easier that we can make that, and cable traditionally has gotten easier over the years, but we're certainly excited about the launch of TBI. It has been actually well received in the marketplace. And then that certainly covers a portion of our business. And then the other exclusive offer that we have is Zone Television, where we've been able now to zone all 50 of our networks across the market down to even a sub-county level. So Hillsborough is broken into 3 parts. Pinellas is broken into 3 parts. And as we know, 90% of retail sales come within that 5 to 7 miles of a business's location. And traditionally, broadcast television would cover the whole market, which is what TBI can now do in a similar fashion. But with Zone Television, we can hopefully reach smaller businesses that may not have been able to afford to be on TV in the past and have the same effective results, but actually do that in 10 different areas in the Tampa Bay market. So those are really the unique offerings. And then, of course, I always have to mention this is our 10th anniversary of Bay News 9 coming up this fall. It's probably the #1 local news channel in America, and we're very excited to have that as a product to sell in the market. And I guess the only other thing to add, and I certainly take, Sean, from your point about corporate VP and being away from the action, I think it's important to always think of not only our clients first, but our sellers, and what we're trying to do is really that consultative sell. And certainly from account executive through management, I think it's important to not lose that, and I think it's important to have that voice on the panel. So
I agree. Thank you very much. We appreciate you guys all coming out. Todd, I'm going to come back to you for just a second. One of the interesting things that you were just talking about is the fact that you guys have what many people might consider competitors in the market when you look at something like Verizon and Knology. And so I think what's been interesting for many of us on the other side of this is to see that interconnect come back together as realizing that you want to do what's best really for the client out there. And so there's an interesting situation where you guys kind of partnered up with some that maybe a competitor in some ways, but have come back and really join forces to make sure that you provide something out there. And then from a Bay News 9 standpoint, what's interesting is it does really almost operate as a fourth news network in this market, but it's unique in that it's news all day and locally. So can you spend just maybe a brief moment talking a little bit about maybe Bay News 9 and how maybe that came about and really where you feel like the value for that has been from a local standpoint?
Well, certainly, and giving certainly Dave Hall, who's been, we just celebrated Dave's 30th anniversary with Bright House, can certainly talk about it much more than I can, because it was founded back really right after Bright House was formed and became Bright House Networks. And I think that my understanding, the original purpose was to not only serve the local community, but to serve the local community in a way that encouraged people to subscribe to our service. And we now know, certainly in the marketplace, there are many people that won't leave us because they'll lose Bay News 9, and they become so ingrained with certainly weather on the nines and our traffic updates. And, I think if you really look where it started with that being the message, and then the technology advances and being able to actually really keep people through the hurricanes of '04, from my understanding and the awards that we've won before I got here, it's really Elliot Weiser and his whole team. And they operate it as a separate entity within Bright House. We have the benefit to own all the ad sales inventory, all the sponsorships, and all the entitlements. And so I think that's a unique offering for us because when we look at ESPN or CNN or a national network, we're only an affiliate. So we only may get 2 or 3 minutes an hour. With Bay News 9, we have all of the advertising that surrounds the content, and the company's been very keen on not allowing it to just become an ad channel, which I think in some cases in America we sometimes take too much credit for, and then it's nothing but ads. And we've really limited the advertising to make sure that the news is foremost the product that people watch and I think enjoy. So I don't know if Dave would add anything to that, but that's at least my understanding of the background. And what makes it strong today is the company's committed to Bay News 9 and providing that 24-hour news source to the local community.
Great, thanks. Mike, the next question is going to come to you. I mean, people love to be spoken to directly and personally, and one of the interesting things that seems to have come out over the last several years is pearls when it comes to direct mail. I know the first time that I ever got one and it had my name on there and it's kind of speaking to you directly, it does at least kind of make you pause for a second, think, well, how in the world do they do that? And it does make you stop and look. So can you talk to us a little bit about maybe that pearl technology, maybe explain a little bit more about what that is, and talk about where you feel like maybe that next step is from a direct mail standpoint?
Sure. So the biggest change in the last several years with direct marketing, and I'm speaking sort of direct mail marketing, although we do tie in multi-channel, hence the pearl, is you have, data drives the touch, what you know about the prospect or the client, transactional data, demographic, psychographic. So you have variable imaging. So now you have 4-color digital imaging, so your piece is different from your piece, not just message, but graphically. And then you can either append a pearl, a personal URL, or a QR code to go to a phone. And the recipient simply keys in their, acmetoolanddie.com/John Smith. There's a welcome page, welcome John, perhaps an HTML of the piece they're looking at, but it takes them right to the offer rather than, say, a home page. And then they provide some information. Now they've opted in. Now you can drip on them subsequently with email. And kind of similarly, QR codes now, where you'll image the QR code, variable imaging on some 4-color digital laser, take a picture with your phone, go to a landing page, opt in, get more information. So it's sort of, you take a very database-driven, kind of mature channel of direct mail, and then you append it or add on to it things like mobile and taking folks to website personalized pages. It's kind of the best of both worlds.
Thanks. All right, I'm going to direct this next question over to Mark. Mark, if you can talk to us a little bit about social media. Obviously, social media continues to be top of mind. I think everybody's trying to figure out exactly what to do with it, how much time to invest in it, where's the value back out of it from a business standpoint. It's important to you guys certainly as well. Talk to us about maybe the role that social media is playing, not only from a station standpoint, but with the clients that you guys interact with on a daily basis.
I think for the company, just to reinforce its commitment and belief in social media, when they launched iHeartRadio, hate to go back to that again, but it's a big piece of what we're doing right now. In order to actually log on and create an account, you had to go through your Facebook account. And the reason that we did it that way is that that's the best way to go viral. And if birds of a feather flock together, then we can grow exponentially very quickly. And indeed, as I shared earlier, we went to 10 million subscribers quicker than Facebook, or Pandora or any of the other social media darlings. So, our belief in it is huge. We think it's an opportunity to deepen our relationship, and it seems like more and more in media now, it's really about the relationship with the customer. And that's certainly a place where you can have an exchange of ideas and interaction. We can learn from what they like and dislike and make intelligent changes that are going to make our core group of customers happy and satisfied with what they have.
Great, thanks. The next question is going to be for Erica. Erica, obviously, with the advent of online, it's changed print in many ways. Talk to us a little bit about what you know about some of that transition for you guys from strictly print to obviously digital editions as well, and how that's changed maybe how you package the products that you have out there to the clients that you're prospecting.
It's a huge controversy and a huge conversation within our company in general. And going back to what Don said, print is not dead. But my company has done a great job about staying ahead of the curve. A long time ago, we created the digital subs where you can type in your subscription number and look at your business journal online as a PDF. We also did a really good job about making sure that we never gave away all of our content for free online. That if you were a subscriber, you had VIP access online to only view the articles that other subscribers could view. Us in the Wall Street Journal were some of the only people that did that, which kept people coming back and knowing that they were part of our readership VIP group. But funny enough, with the digital subs, you would think, they skyrocketed. Everyone was getting them. Everyone was just taking out a digital sub. Well, the renewal rates are horrible. We're finding that a lot of people get that digital sub, they read it for a while, but what they really want is the paper in their hand. They want to actually read it, sit down with it, and turn the pages, which we think is really very odd. But we're making sure that we always have both. We're constantly listening to our readers and realizing that interaction is what they really want. They want to meet the other business people in the community. They want to see and hear what these business leaders have to say. We want to try to have the print come to life. We partner with Tampa Digital on a weekly segment on our website on executive files, where the executive is actually answering questions. These are leading CEOs in different companies, so you actually get to see their personality and see how they act. Another innovation that we're kind of leaning towards is the whole startup segment. Obviously, businesses are innovating, and a lot of people are branching off and starting their own, entrepreneurial ventures. So we're creating a microsite across all 42 business journals called Upstart, and it'll be kind of a resource for different startups and a way to learn about who is starting up in the community. Again, Social Madness, which is a huge thing. We launched that June 1st company-wide to kind of show the power of social media and how that can increase our impressions. We're looking at probably about 10% of our impressions every single month are coming from social media. We want that to grow and grow and grow, because then that creates more and more inventory for our advertisers to then be able to advertise on and for us to hopefully make money from.
Great, thank you. The next question is going to be for Dawn. Dawn, we talked a little bit about the fact that we were blessed enough to have the publisher kind of come out and talk a little bit about that transition itself, and we opened in discussing that. For some of those attendants that may not have been able to make that event, could you maybe just discuss that just briefly, kind of where the idea came from to actually make that transition and how that was kind of rolled out into the market?
Yeah, absolutely. The probably biggest misconception with the St. Petersburg Times as it existed as the St. Petersburg Times was that it was a newspaper only for St. Petersburg. And so if you lived in this market, you would understand that it was larger than St. Pete, but by the name itself, it really didn't say that. And so, we've always gotten credit for having, amazing award-winning journalism, and we would hear out on the streets, wow, I really love your paper. I think it's a great newspaper, but it's not my hometown paper. And so this idea of changing the name of the newspaper has been in the works for a long time. And when it was finally able to be executed, it was interesting. There's actually was a war room in St. Pete where, all the branding, all the creative, all the execution of what had to happen. I mean, can you imagine 5,000 racks with like 10 stickers each, all with the name that is changing. From every detail of a business card to an email address had to be changed in 90 days. I think 60 days. We made the announcement on November 1st, and everything changed over January 1st. So I was not a part of that. I think it was probably dangerous for me to be part of that group because I was just way too close to, the passion behind the name change. But it has been, like you said, very well executed. I have not seen one piece of straggling St. Pete Times left behind as of January 1st, which, I thought, I went looking for it because I knew it had to be out there. But basically, from a strategic standpoint, it's something we had to do. Only 30% of our subscribers are actually in St. Petersburg. We have been larger than St. Pete for a long time. And I would say it was interesting in the first month when we go out and talk to people and they say, wow, that's great. You guys have gotten so big. You've really grown. It's like, Well, yeah, we've been doing that for a while, but simply by changing the name to something that people could really relate to, it really has made a big difference in the number of subscribers that we have and the number of advertisers that can look at us now and go, I can relate to you, my business can relate to you in Tampa and in Brooksville and in Brandon and in Wesley Chapel because they all relate to Tampa Bay. We did a ton of research around that name, and it was the one common thread. No matter where you lived in this 5-county market, you identified yourself as Tampa Bay. And so, finally, we have a name that fits where we are. So,
thank you very much. Appreciate that. Todd, the next question is going to be to you. You've obviously been in this business for many years. What do you feel like, having been in the business for as long as you have, what do you feel like has stayed the same? And what do you feel like has maybe changed, and where do you feel like maybe some additional change is coming?
Well, first off, all of that material is in Dawn's garage. She's I don't know, she failed to mention that. Nobody can find it because she's hiding it away. So, I would say that the things that haven't stayed the same is the approach to customers. If we could light up phone banks and actually replace the sales force from talented professionals, people would have done it long ago, and it's not something that can be done today. I still don't believe an algorithm can replace a creative, talented person working with somebody that's passionate about their business and marrying some ideas together of what that medium could deliver. So I don't think that's changed, and I think that stayed consistent over a long period of time. I think in certainly our case, and it happened probably in the mid-'90s, for the longest time, and I started in 1988, so I was selling Australian rules football, and we didn't have Sunday night football, let alone Monday night football on ESPN, that it was very hard to even get people to take us seriously. They didn't understand even how a cable company was inserting commercials, let alone that they could buy at the cost of radio at the time in a much smaller geographic area. So I think that change certainly has created kind of a one TV world, and I think it's happened. My daughter is 16, so I think I took her to Bring Your Daughter to Work day probably 5 years ago, so she was about 10, and I asked everybody in the group to name your favorite network. None of the kids, and I was trying to get broadcast network, I was trying to demonstrate the difference. Not one child could name or identify a broadcast network versus a cable channel. The point being is it was Nickelodeon, and NBC came up, but it wasn't that there was this identifying in a multi-channel universe. It's not like you look at it and go, oh, I'm going to go watch broadcast, or I'm going to go watch cable. I think it's become a one TV world where I'm watching channels, and I think probably that is the next big shift that's coming as more products will be served over the top of our networks. Content, and it may not happen as rapidly as some may think because the content owners realize they have to get paid. So if you just go over the top of the service provider, I heard a quote that, ESPN does not want to negotiate with 110 million consumers for individual viewership contracts. So there will be some change, but I think that, you've seen kind of Netflix get a huge library and then it be pulled back. And so I think that there are going to be tests of how do we actually make content available to wherever anybody wants it, when they want it, but not do it in such a way that the people that are creating the content aren't compensated for their value chain of that content. And so I think that's the open question in my mind. Certainly user-generated content, YouTube, yes, I think that there's a huge market for that for web advertising. And maybe it's a generational change. Maybe when my kids are 40, there will be a definite different way to view user-generated content. But even when I watch my son and his friends, those are small batches of viewership. It's not viewing for an hour. And we know that television viewing, everybody back to the comment of print is dead, everybody thinks television's the next thing to die. Viewership is up in the average home just in the last 5 years, 5 hours per week. So people may be on their tablet, they may be on their smartphone, but they're generally doing it while they're watching television. And so, I think that that's going to be the change is how you get it and where you get it. And then we're going to have to adapt and figure out how to make sure our local ads are placed strategically in that stream.
So then if I can just have a quick follow-up with you, Todd, on just that, which is in the world of Netflix and in DVRs and TiVos, how, as an advertiser, do you try to help make sure that your message is actually seen? You can buy a spot in, any of the shows that are on TNT, but how do you, adjust your message in some ways, or how do you try to make sure, or use some of the products that you have more creatively to make sure that that message is actually heard?
Well, obviously, make a good commercial, I think is first, because there's certainly research that most people, even while they're watching a time-shifted program, don't fast forward that rapidly. Some will, there's no question, but a lot of times people will start a program and watch it leaning back in an old style of viewership. Now my kids will yell at me and go, "Dad, we can be fast forwarding." And I'm like, "We're making money, please stop and watch the commercials, people." But also time shifted. I think that there was a big belief that everyone would start shifting their viewership, and we now, at least from the last Nielsen report, 70% on what's on your show list you'll never watch anyway. So you would have missed that ad anyway. So I think that's the other big aha for people, is that you would have missed it. So the DVR gives you a chance to actually have a second chance to get a viewer that you never would have caught in the first place. So, that's the piece, that it's actually supplemental viewing. If it happens within 3 days, it will be reported. We are People Meter Markets for Nielsen, so it will be picked up and reported in the ratings. If it happens outside of that 3-day window, most advertisers, from my experience, don't buy on +7. So, it just becomes additional impressions. And eventually we'll figure out a way to replace those ads on the DVR to actually have current relevant ads, even if you've left, Dance Moms on your DVR. And that's on mine, unfortunately. So that would be something.
You've told us too much, way too much at this point.
It's not my viewership. It's a shared family
of course
DVR.
We don't judge. Thanks, Todd. Hey, the next question, I'm going to go back to you, Mark, for a little bit. So one of the interesting things about many of the people on the panel here is that they can take an advertiser's message and really create segmentation based on where that target audience lives. Obviously from a Bright House standpoint, and even from a print standpoint, and certainly direct mail pioneered that. Radio is a little bit different in that obviously it's a broad-based medium. So how do you guys, A, kind of compete in that world? And then B, one of the things that you guys do offer that many obviously don't have that opportunity is endorsements with local personalities. So maybe if you can, on the flip side of that, talk a little about maybe what role that kind of plays in again, creating some separation for you as a medium.
Okay. In terms of segmentation, I think one of the great things that you can get through the paper and through cable is you can buy regionally. And that's certainly, in a broadcast medium like ours, we don't have that ability. But what we do find is that birds of a feather flock together. And so if it's a particular life group that you're trying to reach, there's a good chance, you've heard about the hot zip codes, I'm sure, if you've done any kind of media buying at all, that you can find that there are areas geographically where certain format listeners congregate. So you have that ability, although it's not quite the science that it is here. The other thing, and really probably what we feel, if everybody in here would agree, that word-of-mouth advertising is usually your best form of advertising. The relationships that our listeners have with our personalities are word-of-mouth opportunities, because a lot of these people are driving to work with them every day, and they develop a relationship. And so, in our case, if you hear Ted Webb or Jack Harris talk about how great this place is to get your pool, then that's going to be like you talking to one of your friends over dinner saying, "Hey, you ought to call these guys. This is a good place to buy your pool." So what we found is, and it's sort of an integration of advertising into content too, which is sort of an evolution, I think, that's taken place as well, of really trying to make commercials effective so you don't have to deal with DVRs and hoppers and all the things that are trying to take away the commercial, but integrate it somehow into the content of your programming so that it's not an intrusion, but it seems to fit and feel better.
Thanks. Mike, the next question is going to be for you. One of the interesting things about direct mail is that it's very scalable. So you can have a smaller budget and really kind of maybe pinpoint a specific zip code or neighborhood, but obviously you can do things from a much larger scale. So can you talk maybe a little bit about that process? If there's somebody who's never done direct mail, how do you kind of find that happy medium? Where do you really start them at to be able to walk them through picking the right pieces?
Yeah, good question. Really good question. I have to throw out 2 pieces of data that I learned yesterday. I don't know where people think direct mail fits. It's not the new shiny object, that's for sure. But just under $46 billion was spent on it last year. And each day they deliver 554 million pieces of mail. So there's a lot of it going on. Whether you're a big mailing or a small mailing, the idea is, it is very scalable because of the technology, the equipment, and you just mail to the list that is the best targeted list for your product or service, and you mail as many as you can afford. And you can play with the ROI, and you can figure in response rates, conversion rates, so that gives you a new customer. But if you really want to do an analysis, then you do the lifetime value. So we have customers, big and small, household names and folks you may have never heard of. At the end of the day, we're looking at what is the lifetime value of that new customer and how many folks do we need to mail within your budget to make that work. But I mean, we'll mail 5,000 pieces maybe for a small doctor with a new practice. And in 6 weeks last fall during AEP, which is the big Medicare enrollment, we probably mailed 10 million pieces for Humana and 12 million pieces for WellCare. So that's 22 million pieces in 6 weeks. So it has to scale up as well as target, a local doctor or somebody opening a gym or something. So it's all about the database. It's all about running the numbers and seeing if the ROI plays out.
Thanks. The next question, Erica, is going to be to you. And I don't mean to put you on the spot by asking you a specific sales question, but I'd love to hear more maybe about a success story of a client that you've had within the last several years who, you had to talk to them about maybe the TVBJ. Maybe that wasn't the first place that they were thinking of from an advertising message standpoint. You don't have to mention the client by name, but if you could talk maybe just from an industry standpoint, has there been a client success story that you've had where you've been able to really talk to them about why it's important for them to be part of TVBJ, and what did that success look like for them?
Sure. What I love and what I'm passionate about when I go out to sell the Business Journal is that we already are a laser-focused medium. So you're not picking a specific place. What you're picking is businesses. If you're a B2B type medium, then we have the readers for you. So right off the bat, it makes sense. There's a couple other publications in town that do something similar. What I usually like to say is that we are a must-read, and the other ones are a nice-to-read. I definitely read all the other ones. They're glossy, they're beautiful, they're fun. Ours are a weekly, continuous, breaking business news source, and that is our main mission. So if you want to be in the know, if you want to know who bought who, who's moving where, what company's going out of business, we're the place that we want everyone to go to for that. When I work with a lot of insurance companies, banks, law firms, accounting firms, a lot of the professional services industry. I'll take a law firm, for example, that was looking at, perhaps running in another medium that oversees kind of the footprint of Florida. And, we have an Orlando, Jacksonville, South Florida Business Journal. So this particular law firm decided they were going to run in all of those. But what I love about the Business Journal is I kind of call us that three-legged telescope where we have the print version, the digital version, and then our events that kind of all go up and let you zoom into your clients to get exactly what it is that you want. So they're able to capture our print readers. They're able to get online and capture maybe a little bit of the younger, skewed type readers. And then they're actually able to sponsor an event and actually shake the hands of the people that they're trying to get their business from. And they've been a client with me for about 5 years now and have continued to have great success.
Great, thanks. The last question from my standpoint, and I'm going to have just one follow-up with each of you, if you don't mind, is going to be for you, Dawn. We are already starting to see political play a pretty interesting role across, certainly from a television standpoint and to some extent from a radio standpoint as well. Talk to us a little bit about what effect that has from an advertising standpoint when it comes to print, whether that means that you guys take some of that advertising or that other advertisers seem to be moving towards print as an opportunity to be able to at least get the message out when it's hard to find inventory.
Yeah, absolutely. We do plan on targeting some of those used to be cable advertisers when all of those are broadcast advertisers. I got to get a little big in there. When that inventory fills up, but I'll tell you,
our first cat fight. We appreciate that.
No, the first one was between these two.
Now you're going to start quoting dance moms. Look, just don't take it there. All right, just don't take it there.
Erica's going, we're the paper you have to read.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Florida Trend.
You have to.
Dawn, you've got the mic. I'm sorry about that.
All right, sorry. Okay, but traditionally, and I'll come back on myself. political candidates don't typically look to the newspaper as the best medium for their messages. I mean, you don't see, television advertising is typically who gets the majority of those dollars. So we've had to get really creative, and obviously with the RNC coming to town and being in Florida, we believe there's a lot of opportunity out there, but it may not be in our print products, frankly. We tend to have an educated, probably decided voter, and that's not necessarily the most desirable person to reach if you're trying to get elected. So TampaBay.com is where we will have the most opportunity to do that. We are going to be making a very large investment, or we are making one, into our newspaper website right now, and part of that will be the ability to search video, to target much finer than we can do right now, to customize the page. And so, with that, we have all that going on at the same time as this kind of opportunity is coming at us from a political standpoint, and I think that's where we will capture most of those dollars. So
great, thanks.
Yeah.
I've got one more question for each of you on the panel, and then we're going to open up to the floor, so hopefully some of you will have some questions. Please start thinking about them, or I'm just going to walk up to random people and make you ask something. They say that you have to love what you do, and obviously we're all here as marketers in some capacity or another because we're either interested in finding out more about what you guys do, or we love what we do, or we love this industry. So in a minute or less, I'm going to ask each of you if you can just tell us about what you love about being in the industry that you're in, starting with you, Mike, if you don't mind.
I like the autonomy. I like the ability to set my own agenda, set my own schedule, deal with whom I want to deal with. Life's too short to have annoying customers, so...
That's why you don't return my calls. Now I know. Thank you.
Sean, don't take that personally, Sean. Over the years, I've become kind of a subject matter expert on direct marketing and database and new technologies. And every day it's different because, you may be talking to HSN and Humana, or it may be, Bayer Pool Service and, another small local company. And they all have their own needs. Some want to reach B2B, some want to reach B2C. This little notice here said that business professionals, 79% say that B2B, the medium's still effective or very effective. So, never a dull moment, lots of opportunity. There's been some challenges in that, other media have come upon the scene the last 5 or 10 years that weren't there. But if you can integrate them, then it's win-win. Our friend Bernie, who's finally converted, who's going to speak here, I guess, a month or two, Genesis and a company called Ducky are doing a mailing for Celsius, that health drink down in South Florida, where we're targeting bikers and runners who live within a small range of Publix. And when they get the piece, they're going to go to a Pearl where they can like Celsius on their Facebook page. That's a pretty integrated solution.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Mark, same question for you. What do you love about this business that you're in?
Well, I've been in it for 29 years now, so it's really the only business that I've ever been in. And the reason I went to work for Clear Channel is because they used to kick our butt every market that I was in. And, I figured if part of it's the money, but a big part of it's really being successful at what you do. And the thing about Clear Channel, we're not an easy company to work for. If you don't come in every day with your sleeves rolled up, you don't embrace change, you don't look for ways to get better every day, it can be an uncomfortable place to work. But I like being challenged like that every day, and I like being around people who gravitate toward that type of an environment because I want to be the best that I can be, and so do the people that I work with.
Right. Thanks. Erica, same question, please.
I always think it's kind of funny because I'm totally biased to the Business Journal because I always say I grew up there. It was my first job out of college. I got engaged while working there, married, and now had my first baby while working there. So I literally know nothing else. So sometimes I literally will sit around and go, what am I doing? Everybody else my age, all of my friends that I went to school with, they've had, 4 or 5 different positions, bounced around different companies. But then I remember that I love what I do. I haven't left because I love it. I love our product. I love my clients. My favorite part about being in sales is going to meet businesses and learning the ins and outs of the company, sitting down with a client and actually getting to know them as a person. And then I realized, all right, well, I'm not curing cancer, but I literally help these people grow their business. And they're happy, and they keep coming back, and they keep growing it more and more. And so that's why I continue to stay. And it also helps that our company is very, very innovative and, again, loves to help us get to the next place. We're always looking into the future, and we're never staying stagnant.
Thanks. I'll make sure I tell Bridget what you said. And you have to stay.
Yes.
You can't leave, all right?
Exactly.
Dawn, sorry, same question for you if you don't mind.
Yeah. Well, Erica stole my answer. No, because actually, your answer is very similar to mine. I came to the Times right out of college, and kind of grew up there, came up through this company, and what I love about it is that I found myself in a leadership position at the Times, and I think I've realized that was my calling kind of all along. I really enjoyed sales. I love meeting customers, but right now I have a team of a dozen amazing sales reps that I have molded and grown and taught, and that part of it is what I absolutely love. And the Times has given me the resources to do that. I've been mentored by our publisher, and I've really had the opportunity to learn what it means to make people successful, and so they can then make businesses successful. And this is a rewarding job. You get out there and there's a win every day. This morning my team was literally blaring music in the sales floor about money. They kept finding all these songs about money, and they're like dancing. And it's like, how do you not, just love having a Friday where everyone's like jazzed like that? So I absolutely, obviously we talk at the Times that, we drank the Kool-Aid, and there's a culture to what we do that you can just feel. And so, yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
Thanks very much. Todd, you get to close it out. Same question for you, if you don't mind. And don't work Dance Moms into the answer.
All right, okay. All right. Can we talk about Tanked on Animal Planet Saturday night? I would say probably the thing I love is the change of what's still coming and what's new. Certainly the first and foremost answer, and it's been really the last 4 years of being embraced by the folks that work for Bright House as I joined the company. The people that work for us is probably what makes it fun to go to work every day. And we have conferences where we get together every couple months, and I've found those. I'm sure there's folks in the room that may dread them, but I get jazzed about them, and I find that I'm energized by seeing people excited about working in our medium, about the new things that we're rolling out. We just had an automotive conference where we had the head of the ad agency that handles Chevy dealers and one of the largest Chevy dealers in Orlando just talk about the business, and to hear them talk about where we worked and the company we worked for and just the smiles across the room, that's to me what brings me back every day, because we're all people and we're living a life. And so, we all have to remember that, and we need to actually, life's too short to go to work every day and be miserable. You need to just go, and we're not going to have great days every day, but it's actually having somebody beside you that picks you up, or a company that can actually coalesce around you when you're having a tough time or celebrating a birth of a new child. So I found Bright House to be that kind of company, and so certainly that's one thing that kind of gets me up every day. And then the second is that the mediums that keep changing, being television or radio, as we've mentioned, and then tying to web and then direct mail on the integrated campaigns. As it all changes, there's much of it that remains the same, and that's reaching potential customers in different ways. And nothing's dying. It's just evolving or changing. And I think that's now how we figure out where to be when the clock stops is the interesting part. But I think that's, to me, the most exciting thing. What is the next thing we're going to launch? And then working on interactive television, getting it back in the marketplace because we had to take it down, or whatever that next big thing is. So
great. Thank you, guys. And again, do me a favor, guys, before we open it up to the audience, please give a round of applause to our panel for spending some time here. Some great answers. They were not blessed with knowing the questions before they got up here, so you guys all did a great job. I probably would have completely panicked. We do have some time, you guys, for some questions from the floor, and we hope that you guys will certainly use this time. If you've got a question, please hold your hand up, and we will send somebody your way. We've got one in the back. I'm going to need some more, or I will walk out there. I will do it.
Dawn, I was curious how the name change has affected the classified section.
Not significantly right now. Classified section, let me just define it a couple different ways. So the liners, obviously, dogs for sale and garage sales and homes, list liners. Those have been on a pretty steady decline as an industry because it's given way to things like Craigslist. It's hard to compete with free. But the name change itself isn't really... I would say overall, so there's the liners, but then the other side of classified would be automotive, real estate, and employment, 3 categories of business that have been very affected by the economy. And so it's hard to say. We've seen some of those come back. There's a lot of, if you pick up the paper on a Saturday, I mean, there's 20 pages of automotive advertising in there. And I think some of those on an individual basis are probably choosing to advertise with us, especially if they're in Tampa now because of our name. But I would say as a general category, there hasn't been a large impact.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? I'm going to make you raise a hand. Nick, you got to have at least one question. You never stop talking, for the love of God.
Yeah, now that you say it.
It's on, thanks. Okay, I guess my question is a little bit more on the iHeartRadio versus traditional radio. Where do you see that going as far as tie over, going back and forth, selling it together side by side? And I haven't gotten too far into that, and it's something that I'm interested in a little more detail on.
Yeah, I mean, the user-generated formats that Pandora offers right now is something that nobody's really proven you can make money with it yet, but our CEO says it's a great accessory, so it certainly needs to be there because people enjoy it. There's also been research done, too, that it's exciting at first when you start plugging in all your songs, and then there's this rapid decline of interest where people are like, I was talking to a lady who sat next to me earlier, where you get tired of hearing the same stuff, you get tired of playing program director, and you kind of want to know what's going on in the outside world. So we've created an app that allows you to do whatever you're in the mood for, okay? So you can, if you're from Cincinnati, Ohio, and you want to listen to WLW, we can put you on right there, and you can be back home listening to just like when you were a kid. Or if you want to listen to your own, disco albums, you can use that as well. So the whole idea is just to keep people, satisfy people while they're, using one application so they don't have to leave it.
Thanks. Anybody else have another question?
I have a question. I'm right here, Sean.
Good to see you.
Next to your wife.
Thank you. Thanks. Hi,
I have a question for the print gals. Can you talk to me about what challenges you see in the very near future and also what opportunities you see as it relates to print?
I'll start with the challenges, and because I'll take Erica as an example of the way doing it right. When you talked about your digital subscriptions, I think that we have, as an industry, forever given away our very valuable, local, unique content online, and that, as an industry, is going to be a really big challenge going forward to get paid for that. The Associated Press that every newspaper runs and puts on their website, all of the wire stories, that you can Google those stories and find them in umpteen places. But the true local, unique stuff, the stuff we pay our reporters to do, is so valuable. And I think at some point in the future, and it's going to be a huge hurdle to figure out because we've just done this historically, is to get paid for that content. So I'd say that's probably one of the biggest challenges facing the industry right now.
I agree, and I do appreciate that my company saw that a long time ago, making sure that they locked down our content and didn't give it away for free. Right now, they're conducting some focus groups. They actually chose San Antonio Business Journal, and they're doing this big thing on the Business Journal of the future and what that will look like. And what we do know is that, it's always changing. I don't ever think that the print portion will go away. I'm obviously of a younger demographic, and I still want my magazines. I still want my paper. I still want to hold it and see it and touch it. But I also am constantly going online. I'm on the mobile apps and checking things out on my iPhone. So it's always going to change and evolve. As long as we stay true to our mission of bringing local breaking business news to our readers, then I think people will continually go to us. It doesn't matter what form, if it's on a tablet, a phone, or in the print version. We're just always trying to figure out what people want.
I'm going to jump in with just a quick question for Todd, just kind of based on that same answer. Todd, we're talking all about tablets and phones. We're all on them, all the time now. You guys just kind of fairly recently rolled out an app for the iPad to be able to watch your Bright House, on your iPad. Can you talk a little bit about that technology itself and where the web is going to kind of play a role for you guys? Do you think that you'll expand your presence on the web? Will Bay News 9 become more like some of the traditional broadcast and have a larger presence online specifically for Bay News 9, or talk a little bit about how that technology is changing cable itself?
Well, I'll talk about the tablet first, the iPad app. It's been very important, and we just launched the Android app last week. So as we roll out, it is still an authenticated service, which I mean by you have to have a user ID, back to the point of you have to be a Bright House customer to get the service. And I think it actually echoes to, Don, your point of letting content out there. And most of the copyright restrictions, we have to lock it down within your home. There's some debate about that on TV Everywhere as an industry initiative to provide television wherever you are if you're subscribing to that service. If you've been to the Watch ESPN app, I don't know if anybody's used that app, but the product actually now, if you're authenticated as a subscriber to the service, you can get the full experience. It's not just ESPN3, the third-tier game. So they've actually put their whole product up. So, as we see what the content providers do and the relationship with the subscription company, I think it's an important addition. I will say I've watched it be used even in my house, and it is interesting because many times it's a second viewership device, and it could be why we're watching more television than ever. And closed captioning ends up being one of the big services that people like. So you could actually have another game on, closed captioned, and be watching another television program or whatever it may be. So instead of having a real expense, you can turn your tablet into a portable television for the lanai, and you don't have to actually, it's really a personal viewership experience. It's not 4 or 5 people watching it. And we also know that on mobile devices, the average viewership time for a mobile device is under 60 seconds for any video. So, not many people are watching a full movie unless you're just stuck in traffic and there's an accident on I-4 on your mobile device. So I think it really depends on the size, and then eventually the connectivity to that 50-inch television you bought, because we know that people haven't put these units in their homes not to use them. And until that's figured out and ubiquitous and locks down the copyright on the product, I don't know that it'll change anytime soon, but we certainly want to reach people where they want to view television.
Great, thanks, Mark. You had something you want to add?
I was going to ask you, I'm a Bright House customer. You reached me on my treadmill, Game 1 of the NBA Finals, and I watched the NBA Finals on the app with the iPad. The one thing that I noticed is, with the commercials don't come through. Will
Correct.
that change at some point?
We believe
so. The question
so.
was just about the commercials. I'm not sure if everybody heard. The question is on the app itself. It doesn't play the normal commercial break. So you were going to talk about that.
And it depends on the provider. So when I think you were on the Watch ESPN app. Is that correct?
Correct.
So the Watch ESPN app, that is their decision. So that is being served directly over the net and just authenticated as you as a subscriber. The Bright House television app is actually the streaming of live television channels, and those will carry full national ads at this point. Of course, Bay News 9 has a full complement of local ads. And because it's a centralized source, we haven't gotten into that stream yet. We're certainly working to get into serving ads by IP range. We haven't done that yet, but it is coming, and I think that will be resolved, in the near future. But usually if you don't see ads, it's because ESPN hasn't figured out, and this is just a personal opinion, I don't know this for a fact, they haven't figured out the monetization form of replicating those ads from television on the web.
Right.
And so what I would guess is somebody wasn't willing to pay what they wanted to sell it for, so they just run no ads. And they'll end up being those black boxes in your programming.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's from directly ESPN. If you watch it on the Bright House app, it's streamed, and it's really the live channel, the national feed coming through our services. And then the local affiliates, as well as our services for Bay News 9, are carried as well.
Great. Thanks. Thanks again to the entire panel. Thank you for all of you for attendance.